Hey, well, good morning, good afternoon. It's a few seconds after midday, and here I am to talk to you about sounding bowls and about how the different woods sound like the trees they come from. So here behind me, I've got a selection of sounding bowls in Olivia, good morning. Nice that you're here. So the bowls I've got here are in lime and in cherry and in ash. And I've got one here in birch and also one in rosewood, just off camera there. So I'm going to be playing these different bowls and we'll talk about the different properties of the wood and the different sounds. So let's start with a classic favorite of sounding bowls. We use this ash a great deal because ash just sounds gorgeous. This piece, as you can see, has got the usual carving on the back, 5 feet, with the logo and the wood type ash and the serial number, the designer signature and the maker's signature. This one was made by Ramon in Austria. I'll turn it to get a bit more light on it, like the shadow. And here we are. I thought so. I've left this F sharp. There we go. Supposed not to do things like this on live stream. Supposed to get it ready beforehand. But Satya, welcome. Thank you. Mike, good to see you. Well, not that I can see you. So we've got this piece of ash here, a piece of Austrian ash from the mountains around Salzburg. And the 12-string melody bowl gives you a lovely range of notes. So what you can hear in the ash is the positive nature of that wood's kind of enthusiasm. Ash, until this latest attack on the ash species, ash is really a very healthy tree. It has a strong growth pattern. It puts out lots of seedlings. It puts a long streak up in the spring, reaching for the sun. And that kind of warm, positive healthiness really comes through in the sound. And if you compare that with the next one, with lime, a lime 12-string melody bowl, so the same basic structure, slightly finer. Again, lovely carving on the back by the same maker, Ramon in Austria. So again, from the Salzburg region, this piece of lime has a very different sound. So if you think of the tree, lime, yeah, nature is one of peace. It's supposed traditionally to be peaceful to sit under. After the end of the Second World War, Berlin rushed to replant the lime trees which had been destroyed during the war in the city, because Berlin is identified with the lime, and the city fathers knew that the lime would bring peace back to the city. And if you think of traditional herbalism, the lime blossom tea brings peace to your digestion. Yeah? And it's good for taking before you go to bed for a deeper sleep, lime blossom tea. So the nature of peace. And the lime are associated. And if you listen in this I would say that there's more feeling in the notes. In the ash, there's more energy. So the thing, when you're listening for the inner quality of a note, it's helpful to notice that there's kind of three stages. When you first pluck the note, the vibrations spread from your finger out along the string, and you get this whing happening. Yeah? That microsecond is called the strike. Then the sound kind of stabilizes in the string, and you get the plateau of the sound. And then as the sound fades, you can hear what's called the decay, which is the end section of the sound. And in the end section, again, the character of the word particularly shows. So in the strike and the decay, the note is more different between different woods and different bowls than it is in on the plateau. So again. I don't know how good your speakers are, how long of that sustain you can catch, but the sustain on sounding bowls is always very good. So try this one in the birch, in the lime then. And then in the whole music, you can feel it. Before we move on to another word, I'm going to give you a chance to compare that with the ash again. when you're playing the bowl, you particularly feel it. The bowl's resting against the body, you feel the vibrations in it, and the notes really respond, and you pick up the energy. It's very difficult to play exactly the same improvisation on two different bowls because the energy is so different. Immediately I want to slow down with the lime. So let's compare that with a third wood, because I've got another 12-string melody bowl here in birch. So this one, as you can see, is a little deeper than the lime. The customer for this one, Faith Challinor-Wheatley of soundhealingtherapies.co.uk, she asked me to make it just a little bit heavier so that the tuning would be more reliable. The heavier the bowl, the more wood you include, the more reliable the bowl becomes, and the richer, the more depth, the more bass notes you get in the sound. And the thinner you make the bowl, the more alive the sound becomes, the more responsive, the more bounce you have in the sound. So there's a small part of that you're hearing here. But this ash one is also quite a good bowl in terms of its weight and balance, and holds its tune extremely well. So the birch and the ash, again, are well worth comparing. Now, if you think of the birch tree here, this light, feminine tree casts very little shade with its silvery white bark. There is in the traditional connection with the birch tree, there's this Venus-Aphrodite association. The lightness and the sharpness of Aphrodite's arrows and the way she runs is just the archetype of feminine direction, whereas Venus is more the sensuous side of the feminine. Yeah? And you hear both of those here in the birch. When we started making bowls out of birch, in fact, it was Faith who asked us to make a bowl out of birch first. She said that her vision asked for a bowl from birch. We made her a simple little sounding bowl from birch, the first one we'd ever made. And the most extraordinary thing happened, because in the grain, where you see these beautiful patterns here, yeah, in the grain on hers, an angel appeared, like a robed figure with like a wing behind and holding its arms out in front, an offering angel, quite extraordinary picture. And I didn't make bowls from birch for quite a while after that, but then I found another larger log, because it's not easy to find large birch. I found another larger log and started making birch bowls. And then I noticed that people's emotional response to birch was immediate. It was much more present than other bowls. You always get an emotional response to a sounding bowl, but with birch particularly, there was this feeling of, oh, as if there was feelings there that one had kept hidden away, one had learnt to ignore, one had felt this will never be healable, this will never be accessible, this is something I just have to put up with. And then through birch, one can access these deep feelings. In some branches of music therapy, birch is associated with working with children, really this Venus energy is very much a childish energy as well. If you think of the sensuousness and the direction, the running of a child, it's got that Venus Aphrodite energy in it. So working with children and birch is a traditional thing. And it seems as if the inner child also responds to the sound of birch. So compare that again with the ash. Much more energy in the ash. It's a slightly larger bowl, but that's not just why it has a different sound. I'll bring the birch back. So for a direct comparison. And now the lime. Some of what you're hearing in the lime is the fact that this one is fine in its aspect ratio and also in its wood thickness. It's thinner than usual, this one, which gives it that bright, that immediate, that very responsive feel to it. But some of what you're hearing is the lime. Tilia in Latin, tilia. You can get that sense of the leaves moving in the breeze. And the delicacy of the lime flowers. And then again on the birch. Lime to birch. When I swap from the lime to the birch, I get this just a little extra warmth in the birch sound. So what do the sounds do for you? If you type any comments, I get to see them. Everybody does. The wider leaves on the birch tree, on the lime tree, much larger leaves than birch. The sense of peace. That you get from lime blossom tea, and the tradition of sitting under a lime tree brings peace. And the use of lime trees in Berlin, their main street is called Unter den Linden, under the limes, yeah, and there's a sense of peace there under these limes. Or ash. The energetic growth patterns of ash. You can feel the strength. Ash. Ash to birch. Such a delicacy by comparison. and back to the lime. So I've got one more, a slightly different bowl, but I wanted to play you this one as well. This is a cherry bowl, and again, a very different sound you get from cherry. If you can imagine the cherry tree with its shiny bark and its astounding blossom. In the wild cherry, it comes out in the woodlands, and you see a hillside dotted with pink trees where nothing else is yet in. At just this time of year, in another couple of weeks, the cherry trees will be coming out. Before anything else has got leaves on, out comes the cherry blossom. And if you think then of the cultivar, though they don't flower till May, they get covered in blossoms. The whole tree is pink, not just dotted with pink. Yeah, and when the blossom falls, the ground underneath blushes for beauty of the blossoms that fall. And you think of the cherry fruit, yeah, with its sweetness and its suggestive form, and yeah. So cherry. You really need two hands to play a lyre bowl. So I'm going to put that down on my lap, maybe tip the camera down a bit. Now you're getting a different sound here because we've got 15 strings and not 12. So that gives you extra harmonics. So you can hear that there's more harmonics in there. But what you also get from cherry is a sense of bounce. So again, listen to the strike. Yeah, there's a fineness. Instead of a whoa, you get with the ashes, a whew. There's a So for me, the sound of cherry is like maidens dancing, you know, a maypole dance, that sort of, every simple single joy of spring is there in the sound of the cherry. That delight that needs no explanation, needs no help. So it's a larger bowl, it's a lyre bowl and not a melody bowl, but still some of what you're hearing, some of the difference there is between cherry and now ash again. Totally different sound. And then again, the cherry. And compare that with the lime. Such a different atmosphere. So you check, trees bring us their character. Trees bring us their gifts in every aspect of their being, whether they're feeding the soil, whether they're giving us leaf compost, whether they're giving us fruit, whether they're giving us their wood, whether they are giving us oxygen. Trees are the balancing force to the human being. You see, out of all the beings on the earth, trees and human beings are upright. The animals are horizontal. Yeah, trees and human beings stand there upright, and the difference is that trees stand still and human beings dash around. The difference is that trees have their flowers and fruit, their reproductive organs at the top of their trunk, and human beings have their reproductive organs at the bottom of the trunk. The difference is that trees have their most living tissues just under the bark, around the outside of the tree. Human beings have their most living tissues deep inside in the organs. Yeah? So in every way, trees are inside out and back to front. They are the counterpart. We are the counterpart of trees. We are each the counterpart and balance each other. Trees want our love and attention, and they give us, without question, without deal, without bargain, they give us their love and attention. They do this in every way, and the sound is one of the ways in which they do that. So when you listen to a lime bowl, you are engaging with a lime tree. And when you play a birch bowl, you are engaging with the energies of birch. And when you listen to a cherry bowl, when you play a cherry bowl, you are picking up the dance of the cherry tree. Thank you. That's it for today, and I will be back at noon next Friday, and I'll be looking at the different types of bowls and why we get such a different sound from a lyre bowl than from a melody bowl, and what happens when we pick up a heart bowl, why it's such a different shape, and what the energies of these different bowls bring to us. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week.